Hi everyone, welcome to another video. In the last series, we created a headless button component and a headless drop-down component for creating a headless React library. In this video, we will continue on and we will create a carousel component. We will start with creating a custom hook for the carousel, and then we will reuse that custom hook to create two different types of carousels. One would be based on scrolling through the pictures of a product, and second would be used to scroll through the reviews of the product. So we will also leverage some of the TypeScript best practices, and we will reuse the TypeScript generic types as well. So let's get started. So I have created a useCarousel file, which we will use to create the custom hook. I'll just quickly start to write the code. So first of all, this is the useCarousel. Then we will just import React use state and use effects here. Now we will start defining our interface. So carousel props, we will be using generic type. That's why we are passing the capital T. Whenever we are going to define generic types, we use this syntax. First thing we need to pass is the array of slides. Again, it will use the generic type as a slide type, so that the slide type could be anything. In our case, it would be reviews, list of reviews, and the list of pictures as slides. So that's the idea. And we will define some basic functionality as well. So we will use an initial index if we want to set a specific index or a specific slide as the default start index, then we will use that. We will add another option to have an autoplay feature as well. And if there is an autoplay feature, we want to see what would be the delay or the timeout between the going to the next slide. And then finally, we'll also include whether the carousel is an infinite scroll. So when it reaches the end, it will continue from the start slide. Now, the render slide prop is quite important because render slide makes this custom hook generic, so that when we are using different types of slides, we can provide their custom rendering code as well. So in case of reviews, we will have a custom rendering code. In case of pictures, we will have a different rendering code. So that's why we want to provide that function here. So we've defined the interface. Now let's start creating our custom hook. So our custom hook would be useCarousel. Again, it uses the generic type. Then we will just define all the props that we have in our carousel props. Slides, initial index, we'll set 0 as default, autoplay as false. And we will define autoplay delay infinite. Let's just set it as true. And finally, our carousel props. First of all, we will define the current index, and we'll set the initial index as the default value. Then we will define our use effect, where we would want to see if autoplay is true. Then we want to set the interval ID, and then we'll call the next slide after each interval tick, and the timeout would be the auto play delay. And then finally, we will set interval to null when it's unmounted, or we'll just call the clear interval function here. And whenever there is a change in the autoplay or autoplay delay, we want to execute this use effect. Then we want to define the next slide function. It will set the current index. We will use our previous index here to see if our previous index has reached the end. And if it has, first of all, we will see if it's infinite. Then we will see if previous index is equal to length -1 because the last slide. If that is, then we will set it to 0 so it reaches the first slide. Otherwise, we will just use previous index +1. And if it's not infinite, then we will just pick previous +1 and length -1, which is the minimum value. So that's the logic for the next slide. And for our previous slide, similar logic, so we'll just continue to use that, but it just would be opposite. So we will use, if we'll check previous slide is equal to 0, then it will be length -1, otherwise previous -1. And instead of min, now we are going to see the max because previous -1 would become max, right? And for our custom hook definition, we will return all the different functions and state variables. And finally, we will export our carousel. Our carousel is ready. Now we are going to use this carousel to create any kinds of carousel components that we want. So we will start with creating, let's call it ReviewsCarousel. And we will use this, our carousel hook here. I'll quickly paste the code here, which we are using our custom hook, and we are defining some very basic interface for the review. The power of using the generic types is that we can define the structure of the review, and you'll see very shortly we will also define the structure of our pictures, and they will be completely different, yet our same hook will be able to provide functionality for both of them. So this is a review interface, and then review carousel props. We are passing the reviews as an array of reviews, and now we'll quickly start defining our reviews carousel component as well. So if I just put the component here, you'll see we are using the props that we defined, and we are passing the reviews prop here. So if I go back to useCarousel, you will see here render slide. So we need to define the structure of how review will be rendered. So you'll see here we are just using the title, content, and the rating to show as a slide. So that's how we've defined the function. We will pass it when we create the useCarousel as a custom hook. So you see here, now we are going to use the useCarousel custom hook. That custom hook was providing us with current index, next, and previous slides. And so you see we have the state variable and two functions provided as well. And to the hook we are passing the slides, which are the reviews, then the settings which we want, and finally the render slide, which will be render review. And here we have the structure of our review carousel component. So you can see here we have this div with the reviews with the current index, and we are calling the render review here with the reviews and current index. So we will get that object here. And then we have the previous slide and the next slide button here. So that's how our reviews carousel component will work. So I'll quickly create a picture component as well, then I'll show you that as well. So we are again using our custom hook. Now you can see the structure of the picture is different from the structure of the review, but you'll see that our same custom hook here will be able to now use the pictures rather than the reviews as slides, and render picture as a rendering function rather than a render review. But at the same time, our same custom hook will work to create these two carousel components. And here again we have the structure where we are going to show the current picture from the pictures array, and next and previous buttons to control the flow of the carousel. Now we have defined our components, our custom hook. Now we are ready to use them as examples in our home component. Let's go to our home component. In our previous videos, we used the button and the drop downs. And if you really want to check those out, I would suggest you can look at the previous videos from this series as well. But I'll just comment those out for now. And what we are going to do is, let me just quickly define here reviews data, which is using the review. Let me quickly add the import. So very basic structure for product reviews. We have rating, content, and the title, and then there is pictures array with the URL and the alt for the pictures, alt text. Right, so we'll just use these components here. So we will just use reviews carousel, and we'll just pass the reviews as a prop. So we'll just ignore the TypeScript errors for now, but let's just quickly see if our component is working fine. Right, so you can see our reviews carousel is working. It's automatically scrolling as well based on our default settings, and it's showing our title, content, and rating value as well. As you can see, next, previous buttons are also working fine. So we can see our reviews component is working. Now let's quickly also check our pictures component as well. So again, use those as well here. I'll quickly import them, and let's see those as well. So you can see our picture component is also working fine. Pictures are scrolling one by one. We can use next, previous buttons as well. And our headless carousel component is now ready to be styled in whatever way we want, by using whatever CSS framework or library we want. Right, I think that's it for this video. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe and like the video, and I'm looking forward to your feedbacks as well. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video. Bye.